All right, YouTube, there are a lot of fruitcakes within politics, some more accurate than others. You'd go down the line from someone who's kind of left-wing like Nate Silver or kind of right-wing like Larry Sabato and their predictions and the things that they say. On down the line, you have pill popper Rush Limbaugh. You have vulturized Don Imus, who increasingly looks like he's turning to leather. But we have now identified the culprit as far as most retarded radio person. And he also, has a web-based news site, and that's Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck and Brad Thor, one of his people he invited on to chit-chat about his own stupidity while deftly avoiding mentioning Mormon magical underwear, they were openly discussing the assassination of Donald Trump. I find that funny because this is a person who only a decade ago was glowingly in favor of the kind of neocon party line of the Republicans, had no problem with it, had maybe a couple minor disagreements, got his gig on Fox after making it big ranting about George Soros, then got kicked off of Fox for doing nothing but ranting about George Soros. You'll remember his show where he, just became retarded every single night after night. He does this on The Blaze too. Every time he speaks, it's just an utter tidal wave of retardation. I just can't understand this person. I don't even know if he's human at this point or if he's some sort of poorly tuned robot. This is sort of the flag bearer for the Ted Cruz camp of take the GOP back to a time when praising Jesus more than your opponent meant that you won the election. That's not the fucking way that the world fucking works anymore, Mr. Beck. Does he ever get tired of making a fool of himself? Does he ever get tired of going up in front of a camera or breaking down visibly in tears on air so that people have to listen to him sobbing for 10 minutes talking about how he needs more donations to keep his half-assed news website running? Isn't everybody a little bit tired of this retard? I know I was. I was tired of him back when he was still on Fox. Because even back then, when I had a problem already with some of the shit that Fox was spewing. And I think a lot of Trump fans, oddly enough, are with me here. Even those that are partisan Republicans are like, fuck Fox at this point because of Megyn Kelly and that debacle and stuff with Trump. It's really kind of funny. They've come to the same understanding that I did back when I was a Democrat. I'm not anymore, but I considered myself one at the time. People like Glenn Beck took a network that already, it had a problem, especially in the face of the Iraq War. You had Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity insinuating or outright saying, if you question the war, you're just an inbred commie or something like that. It was the typical McCarthyist sort of fare, and I understood that. A lot of others did, especially younger folks. But Glenn Beck takes the fucking cake. He's so far out there that I half expect him to start ranting about the mothership on one of his broadcasts. I try to ignore any news that has to do with Glenn Beck at this point because it's just so awful, so stupid. He is such an attention whore, and it's like being Alex Jones without the talent of Alex Jones. Alex Jones is a shill and mainly there to sell a product, but he's talented, he's entertaining, he's fun to listen to. It's good. You curl up in bed and put Alex Jones on, you'll have a good time. It can be exciting sometimes. It can be funny. You put on Glenn Beck, you'll be bored to tears, and you'll probably, if you're an insomniac like me, maybe I should start listening to his show because it'll put me to sleep. Here he is, on air, talking to a guest, saying, oh, well, if we can't remove Trump through legislative means, because, he's this weird rabid end times Mormon who keeps deftly trying to avoid mentioning his heresy to other Christians and just saying, oh, I believe in Jesus, I believe in God. Oh, but it's not Elohim, trust me, I'm not one of those weird cultists in the magic underwear. He goes on air and starts talking about, oh, well, maybe a patriot will come along and solve this for us. By which he means somebody's going to blow Trump away or something. Now, in the realm of common sense, sanity, reason, you would think that saying such a thing on air would probably get you investigated at least a little by the Secret Service. I know if somebody said this about Hillary Clinton, they'd be all over him. They say it about Trump, probably they'll drag their heels and do fucking nothing, especially if it's a fruitcake like Glenn Beck. Let's not forget, though, Glenn Beck is full of shit. He was full of shit a couple years ago when he said, oh, I've got a black robe regiment of tens of thousands of preachers, pastors, and priests who are willing to lay down their lives for this great nation and martyr themselves. And talked about it real cryptically, as though there was actually an army of religious individuals. They would come out like congregants in some sort of weird fanfic in black robes, following him to a most gruesome end at the hands of Obama, who would, of course, he'd have a hood on and be grinning like Satan at the time, while they get mowed down by like demons in U.S. Army uniforms, I guess. This is the sort of weird, elaborate mythology that this retard spews out every goddamn day on his radio program. He spews it out on The Blaze. He spews it out anytime he gets a chance to speak, less and less frequently, because people know what a toxic sludge he is. They know if they're associated with Glenn Beck, they're going to be associated with someone who wasn't eligible to even run for the presidency because he was fucking born in Canada, and who probably couldn't keep it in his pants while ranting about Jesus all day. Glenn Beck's a total moron. I hope the Secret Service investigates him, and investigates him damn well. I hope that they show up very visibly so people can take pictures and take video, and I hope they lead him out to the van and go question him a little bit. Because I question his sanity constantly. He talked years ago about having some degenerative disease that eventually would render him blind. I said, oh, well, I guess that's too bad. I wouldn't wish that on even someone as retarded as he is, honestly. But I think it's eating away at his brain in areas unrelated to the optic nerve. I think it's eating away at his reasoning capabilities. Because each and every goddamn month or two, it seems that he says something more and more off the hook. As in, he's slowly losing his sanity. His grasp on reason is degrading over time. And it's obvious his grasp on reason was tenuous at best even years ago. He acted much like the fucking liberals do when they talk about the Koch brothers. If you listen to Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or Nancy Pelosi or any of these other fucking morons in the Democratic Party, the Koch brothers, who I think are number 38 now on the donor list as far as contributions to political campaigns go, are responsible for every evil under the sun. They control the GOP. They probably control every other conservative movement on earth. They're all encompassing. They control the NRA. They control the Federalist Society. They control the John Birch bullshit. They control literally everything. They're like this all-encompassing boogeyman of corporatism, even though the Democrats themselves are corporatists too. I don't quite get it. On the other side, you got people like Glenn Beck. They're so fixated on George Soros. I saw the effects of this, by the way, with the Panama Papers. Now, at the time, first day of the leak, I said, George Soros himself is implicated in the Panama Papers. George Soros probably is thus not the person who had them leaked. And yet people persisted in this weird belief that because he donates to Democratic campaigns that he controls the whole thing, and he's like some Illuminati figurehead. And he's not. He's just a tired, bored old billionaire retard who doesn't really know what he's doing. He's a dying remnant of a past age. He'll be in the fucking ground at some point. And then somebody else will use his fortune and keep doing the retard things that he's doing. And eventually they'll piss away that fortune, as heirs tend to do, and they'll be fucking broke like everybody else. But everyone kept saying, oh, well, he's the one that had the Panama Papers leaked to attack the Eastern world, to attack Putin and so forth. It turns out, of course, he's in the Panama Papers to the tune of several $1 million. Oh, I wonder why. It's because he had nothing to do with the leak. And so Glenn Beck fixates on this one individual to the exclusion of everyone else. It got to the point where he wouldn't even say, oh, the liberals are bad because of this policy mistake. Gun control's bad because XYZ, reasonable, sane arguments that people can comprehend. Instead, it was this weird nightly affair where he'd have his chalkboard up there with George Soros inevitably near the middle, and he'd draw little lines out to all the things he was connected to, and then spin this weird, incoherent ranting for an hour about how he was connected to literally everything that ever happened in recent living human history. Glenn Beck is not mentally sound. He should be in a fucking nut ward. Why haven't his family members committed him yet? He should be in a straitjacket at this point. He's on air, live, calling for the assassination of a presidential candidate. Why isn't he in the loony bin right now? I would say, well, why don't they throw him in jail? He's obviously mental. He's obviously a loon. Anyone who saw his show for more than one episode knows he's not all there. He backed Ted Cruz, for Christ's sake. He has to be crazy. So yeah, I mean, Glenn Beck and this other dude he was talking to, I don't know anything about Brad, whatever his fucking name is. I don't even care. Yeah, he should be locked away. Or at the very least, they should talk to him and say, Mr. Beck, are you all right? Are you in need of suicide assistance hotline or something like that? Because he keeps, I mean, when Indiana was rolling around, he said, oh, if Ted Cruz loses, I'll need to be on suicide watch. What a fucking jokester. What a fucking retarded attention whore he is. Why does anybody listen to his radio broadcast? Why does anyone use the Blaze? I know that their actual viewership is declining slowly over time. Good. Hopefully he goes out of business so nobody has to listen to that shit again. You know, Matt Drudge does it best. If you're looking for that kind of journalism, but you want it to actually be interesting and well written, use Drudge. No need to use the Blaze or any of these other retarded sites. Glenn Beck is utterly moronic. Everything about him screams, please, I need help. Lock me away. So yeah, that's what they should do. Give him what he wants. He wants medical attention. He wants suicide intervention. He wants to feel persecuted. Lock him away and let him feel persecuted behind bars. Lock him away in the funny farm. Put him in a padded room because that's what he fucking deserves. That's about all. Peace out.